What's up, soldiers? What's up, warriors? What's up, kings? Today's order of business, I want to take this time to talk to some of my street soldiers. I want to take this time to talk to some of my street soldiers. I understand that some of us, life was brutal, life is hard. Seem like we ain't have a whole lot of options. Sometimes you're back against the wall and you feel like this is the only thing that I can do. Sometimes you feel like I'm broke, my family broke, I gotta pull my family up out of this predicament that we're in. So I gotta do what I gotta do in order to get out of there. And oftentimes our do what it gotta do in order to get out of there is drug life, street life, you know. We all go through it, not all of us, but a lot of us go through it, you know. I ain't condemning y'all for it. I come from that. I know it. And they tell us, you know, in these poverty-stricken environments to pull yourselves up by your bootstraps and things of that nature. And then I hear on the opposite end is how you pull yourself up by your bootstraps when you ain't got no boots. And all of that shit sound good, but all it really is rhetoric from both sides. It's rhetoric. Bottom line is, regardless of what we go through, it's always a way. It's always a way. It's always a way. It's only about decisions. That's what it's about. It's decision making. Let's be clear. This is decision making. This is decision making. You make a decision to go one way or the other. Now see, I ain't have a rag to riches story. Now, I definitely grew up in the hood. Don't get that misconstrued by any stretch of the imagination. Uncle, you know, my uncle, my mother's brother, one of them, he died before I was born. I think my mother was pregnant with him. He was 18 years old when he got killed from some street shit. Her other brother, he died, I think I was probably like 9, 10 years old on some street shit. My father, my biological father, he was doing this thing. He was out in the street doing this thing. He was getting big paper too. Then he fell a victim to the same shit that he was doing. When I say fell a victim, he didn't die. He's still living to this day. Just ain't living how he used to. He just ain't living how he used to. And on top of that, he was never there. Not for me. And from what I know, not too many of my other siblings on his side. And I ain't beefing with him about that. As a matter of fact, we have a pretty decent relationship. I forgave him. When I talk to him, I go see him. I talk to him on a regular basis because I know how it is to be out there in the streets when you're living and moving fast and things of that nature. And, you know, it be like that sometimes. I ain't condoning it either. I don't want y'all to think that by any stretch of imagination. At the end of the day, you're a man. You do man shit, regardless of what. But we'll talk about that another time. And I promise you, if nothing else, we're going to get on that daddy-son shit. And how it affected me, you know, how I have to be impactful to my kids. How I refuse to be anything less than a man for my kids. But again, that ain't the topic of the conversation right now, so we're going to stay the course. We'll definitely touch bases on it. I promise y'all, we're going to touch bases on that. I might make it my next one because that's something near and dear to me. And I've gone through stages dealing with that, but again, we done with that. We'll deal with that another time. So then I had a stepfather. He was in my life since I was 3 years old. Since I was 3 years old, raised me up. I never felt as if that void was missing because of my stepfather being there. I never felt like as if I missed a void. Or as if, not if I missed a void, as if I had a void or something that was missing because I had a stepfather that was there. And my stepfather was truly everything that I wanted to be, at least from my perspective. You know, handsome young man, but he was ruggedly handsome. You know, he wasn't no pretty boy, no cute ass boy, nothing like that. He was a handsome man, but he was rugged. Well built, well groomed. Rough in his demeanor. He walked and talked with a certain level of aggression. Had a presence about himself. He was a hard man. Definitely had plenty of flaws though. And like I said, that conversation in terms of dad and son and the shit that I'm dealing with that and the shit that I've dealt with that, that'll be a topic of a conversation with that too, both my stepfather and my father. Right now, that ain't what we talking about. Just wanted to give a little bit on that, touch on that. But he still, again, at 12 years old, fell a victim to the streets. When I was 12 years old, he wasn't. Let's clear that up, because when I was 12 years old, my stepfather died. Fell a victim to the streets. Then of course, as I grew up, countless friends. Countless friends. You become numb to it. You don't even that's not to say that you don't realize or understand what's going on, do it hurt you, yeah, but it's not the same. To be honest, you don't even see it the same. If anything, it's more so rest in peace, soldier, your fight is over. That's how you see it. When you get homeboys, friends, and family members that you know is in the street game and they die, it's like, rest in peace, soldier, your fight is over. That's how you see it, because it's expected. It's crazy to say, but it's expected. It's expected. You expect that to be what's going to happen. You expect at one point or another, when you hear somebody got killed, it's not like, damn, Shorty got killed. That's crazy. Of course, you're going to have your individuals. Everybody is a good person to somebody. But then you have the opposite side of that, where he was a piece of crap to somebody else. He was a piece of shit to somebody else. But even still, everybody is somebody to somebody. The question that I have is, how long do we honestly believe the streets is going to give back to us? How long do we honestly believe the streets are what we need? I was a part of it. I did it. I degraded my community. And it's a business. So it's a business. But it's an ugly business. It's a business that's ravishing our communities, destroying our communities. That it's like a disease, eating away at us from the inside out. And that's all these young boys, and so many of these young boys, that's all that they see. And that's what they gravitate towards. That's what they gravitate towards, because they got these coons out here, these suckers out here, really pushing them towards that, really having them believing that this is the way. It's telling these fake stories. They always want to show them the glitz and the glam and make it seem like everything all cool, but they don't never want to tell them the other end of that. No, I done sat down for 15 years. My best friend that I got out the mud with ratted on me. The girl that I was with for 15 years, while I was locked up, she ended up marrying one of my homeboys from up the way. And then he ended up killing her because she fucked another, because she had sex with somebody else that was in the game, because he was broke and she talked down on him. It's an ongoing thing. You get jammed up chasing behind a woman. Get jammed up chasing behind a woman. You get yourself killed, yourself murdered, get knocked off, and you chasing behind them. Whole time you dirty. You never mind how dirty you riding. Your mind focus on that woman that you know ain't no good for you. And in a split second, throw a monkey wrench in your whole operation. You jammed up, and now you're trying to figure out how to climb out of that situation. You're going to have some years to think about it. Yeah, they're going to sit your ass down and give you some years to think about it. How long are you going to continue to throw bricks at the penitentiary? You constantly leaving feeling like you're a man. That's the difference between a hard man and a tough guy or a street guy. You sitting here taking penitentiary chances every day on a regular basis, and I get it. Sometimes that's your choice. That's what it is. I ain't really trying to, shit on y'all. But in the same sense, let me stop saying that. I'm shitting on y'all right now. Let's have that conversation. Let's talk about it. Y'all feel like y'all the best fathers in the world because y'all go drop a couple dollars on your kids. Y'all kids look real good. Y'all want to stunt, put it all on Instagram and things of that nature, make it seem like you're really doing something. The whole time you go away and do 10 years. You do 5 years here and 6 years there and 7 years there. You miss out on your whole kid's life. What we talking about? You make it seem like you did something. What role you really play in your family? And then you go in there and one thing that you always say, ain't nobody did, ain't nobody do nothing for me. The whole time I was in there, ain't nobody do nothing for me. Ain't nobody send me nothing more. The question I got is, well, what the fuck you did when you was in there for anybody outside? You dropped the ball. And you dropped responsibility. You're a man, my nigga. To you supposed to take care of your family. But you ain't doing it. How you doing that behind the wall? How you doing that behind the wall? You got our sons growing up with no father because you behind the wall, behind decisions you made. Now one thing about that, I'm ready and willing to give my whole life and sit behind the wall if anybody think they're gonna bring any hurt, harm, or danger to my family. I'm not hiding from the police. I'm not doing none of that. You think you're gonna bring some hurt, harm, or danger to my family? Or I'm willing to go to jail. I'm willing to die about that. So you already know going to jail. That ain't nothing. Pine box or a time spot. I don't care about neither one of them when it comes to protecting my family. Now that's different. That's morals. That's principles. You're talking about you living a life that you truly don't have to live. Especially once you reach this. First of all, you don't have to do it at all. Let's be clear. But then you got these old head guys out here. They in their 30s, you still playing the block. You still trying to make some street money. And they drying up. The streets drying up. Why you still out there? The answer to that is because you don't have no vision. You have no vision for your life, where you truly want to go. You come up with plenty of ideas and dreams of what you want to be and what you could be, but you don't never really orientate yourself to really make that happen. You never truly make the decision or make those steps to make that happen. You keep thinking about it. It's distance. It's distant dreams and ambitions. That's all it is. That's all it is. You ain't really making no power moves. And the reason for it, what I come to realize, in a lot of these situations, we doing it just because that's what's in front of us. Again, I didn't have that rags to riches story. I didn't have to. Didn't have to worry about my lights being turned off. None of that. Didn't have to make sure that I had to take care of my mother, my siblings, and things of that nature. I ain't had to. My mother held it down. After my stepfather died, my mother held it down. We was still in the hood. Yeah, that was still what was around me, and I still gravitated to the streets because that's just what was going on. But it was because it was popular, not because I absolutely had to, not because it was a means to me taking care of my family. It was just me because I wanted some extra Jordans. I wanted to look good, wanted to be clean, wanted to be fresh, wanted to be fly. Yeah, one of them things. I ain't had to do it, did it? But I always had vision. Always set a standard for what I wanted to be. And the biggest thing that got me away from it was the birth of my daughter. And when I'm talking about I stepped out there early. I'm talking about teenage years. I'm talking teenage years, all the way from middle school. Like that's the thing. And my mother did her greatest. It wasn't like I didn't have a great example of how I should live and what I should be. And I also had other men that were around me. It wasn't necessarily a father. I can't quite say I had father figures around me, but in the same sense, I had solid men that were around, that set examples and precedents, that set an example and precedence of what I could be and how far I could go, and that it was levels to it. I still decided to go the other way because that's what was going on in my atmosphere, in my environment, and I was a product of my environment and subject to those ways. I was a product of my environment and subject to those ways, but I also had vision. I had a mother that never let off of me, and she knew my vision. She knew that I had vision, and she always encouraged me to stick to that. So I knew it was an end game for me. I knew this wasn't something that I was going to do with the rest of my life. I always knew that. It was not even up for debate. Wasn't up for debate. Wasn't a question about when I was going to do it. The question was more how was I going to do it? How was I going to plan and plot and strategize my way out of this lifestyle? And then, you know, life had a way of sometimes knocking you on the head. Some of us don't really get it though. I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. Life had a way of knocking us on our head. My particular way is at 18. I just graduated school. I was 3 months graduated. 3 months out of high school. I had my first child. Changed my life forever. Changed my life forever. My baby girl changed my life forever. And I ain't gonna say I stopped right away. It was a gradual thing, but nevertheless I stopped because I realized at that moment and at that time that I was no longer just living for me. Now I have a duty. Now I'm given purpose. Now I am given purpose. I am no longer just living for me. My well-being is her well-being. Now I have to see to it that I am able to be here in her life and set an example in her life. And that road in and of itself was rocky as well. Shit, if she was in front of me, if she was right here in front of us, she'd tell me. That road was rocky too, but we got it done. I got it done. Why? Because that's man shit.